3D mapping with GIS, creating and visualizing 3D terrain models. Gone are the days when 2D map representation was the norm. The introduction of GIS technology has greatly revolutionized the way we view and interact with maps. The latest trend in GIS technology is 3D mapping. 3D mapping allows for the creation and visualization of 3D terrain models, which is quite popular among GIS professionals and enthusiasts. 3D mapping with GIS involves the creation of maps that display terrain, buildings, and other objects in 3 dimensions. These maps are created using specialized software that allows for the visualization of data on an elevation surface. The data is usually gathered using a variety of tools, which include remote sensing technologies, global positioning systems, GPS, and surveying equipment. One of the most popular methods of creating 3D terrain models is through the use of LiDAR, light detection and ranging, technology. LiDAR technology involves the use of laser pulses to create accurate and detailed 3D terrain models, which can be used for a variety of applications. The laser pulses sent out by the LiDAR instrument bounce off of objects like trees, buildings, and hills before returning to the sensor. The amount of time it takes for the pulse to return to the sensor is used to measure the distance to the object. This data is then used to create a detailed 3D terrain model of the area. 3D terrain models created using GIS technology are useful in a variety of applications. One such application is in urban planning and architecture. Architects can create 3D models of their designs to study their feasibility in real-world settings. These models can be also used to analyze the impact of the design on the environment, including traffic patterns and the effects of the building on neighboring structures. Another popular application of 3D terrain models is in the field of land management. Land managers can use these models to study the landscape and its various features. They can also use these models to analyze changes in the landscape over time. For example, land managers can use 3D terrain models to study changes in the coastline over time. This information can then be used to create effective land use policies that take into account natural features and changes. 3D terrain models are also useful in the field of disaster management. In the event of a natural disaster like an earthquake or a flood, 3D terrain models can be used to assess the extent of the damage and the areas most affected by the disaster. This information can then be used to coordinate rescue and relief efforts. The creation of 3D terrain models also has great potential in the field of archaeology. Archaeologists can use these models to visualize the terrain and features of a site before excavating. This can help to minimize damage to the site and ensure that important features are not overlooked. Creating 3D terrain models with GIS technology is a process that involves several steps. The first step is to gather data about the area to be mapped. This can be done through surveys, GPS, or remote sensing technologies. Once the data has been collected, it is then processed and analyzed using specialized software. This software allows for the creation of an elevation surface, which is used to create the 3D terrain model. It is important to note that creating 3D terrain models requires significant computing power and specialized software. This can be challenging for beginners and those with limited computing resources. However, there are many companies that offer 3D terrain mapping services to clients who do not have the necessary resources or expertise to create their own models. Apart from the aforementioned applications of 3D terrain mapping, there are many other fields that can benefit from this technology. For example, 3D terrain models can be used to create realistic simulations for military training purposes. Soldiers can train in a virtual environment that matches the terrain of the actual battlefield, allowing them to better prepare for combat. The entertainment industry has also embraced the use of 3D terrain models. Video game designers use these models to create open-world games that feature realistic environments. Additionally,